Hello and welcome to episode 60 of the Arena Regulars podcast. I'm Zach,
And I'm Jeff.
and we're your source for weekly drunken Magic the Gathering arena content.
Yeah, basically we're regular dudes drinking irregular beers, and we're talking about Magic the Gathering, in particular the online client MTG Arena.
That's right, and this is one of our favorite episodes. We get to do this every time a set is ending. It is our Crimson Vow Happy Hour special. Yay! Woo-hoo. Basically, where we talk about all the happy things about Crimson Vow and not the sad things. We might talk about sad things.
Well, some of the sad things, but mostly positive.
Yeah. But first, each week we both bring a beer. We drink Jeff's, then drink mine, rate them on a scale of bronze to mythic, and choose the best for last. So with that, what is on tap?
All right, we're continuing our tap takeover from Shacklands Brewing Co. They specialize in Belgian-style beers. And so today I brought Day Star, which is a Belgian blonde ale. This one kind of caught my eye immediately on their website. So I was curious how they did the Belgian style in just a typical ale, because Belgium's kind of known for big flavors and often high octane beers. So I really wanted to try this one.
I also enjoy the can quite a bit.
Yeah, I mean, I think they had two, and I liked the art on this one better, so I went for this one.
Boom. Classic. It is 4.8%. So nice, chill one for this happy hour.
Good starter beer.
Yeah, good starter beer, exactly. You wait. Anyway, we have some Magic news. This weekend was the first competitive alchemy event, which was the Arena Open. Or I guess this last weekend. And it seems to go pretty well. I didn't play in it. Jeff, did you play in it?
I did, actually.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah. And I practiced what I preached. And I decided I was going to enter it twice at most, and I entered it twice, and I did not day two, unfortunately. But what I did was I just went over to Star City Games, and I found an article by Brad Nelson and copied the deck list that he recommended, which was Esper Control. And this was, I believe Andrew Cuneo's list was one that he copied. So it's like a copy of a copy, but eventually it gets back to NPL, control mastermind Andrew Cuneo. I always trust a control deck that he built. The only problem is I was playing best of one, and the deck's probably built for best of three. But we've talked about why we like best of one in these formats and all that. And I knew that going in. I was like, you know what? Whatever. I'm gonna play this control deck. And I got to 6 wins, 6-2. So I had the win and in on my very first run. And I don't know if you've played like best of one, if this is just a best of one thing or if this is a new alchemy thing. But have you seen this blue-red mill deck? Because
no.
Okay, so it's just a blue-red deck that has like 4 ruin crabs, then all the blue mill spells, and then all the red ways to copy shit.
Oh, wait, I have seen this, yeah. I didn't think it was a real deck.
I heard rumblings of it at the beginning of the format, but then... Or no, at the beginning it's standard, not even in alchemy. But yeah, I didn't think it was a real deck either. Anyways, my control deck can basically not beat this thing, because there's nothing really you can do when they copy Tasha's Hideous Laughter. And our win cons are just too slow to win the game before they inevitably do something.
That. Wow.
So it's a horrible matchup. Anyways, I lost all 3 games to this. So when the win and in comes and I see the stupid like blue-red snarl into the fucking crab, and I was like, no! There go all my chances.
So you didn't just immediately see the crab
deck,
just scoop?
Oh yeah. Almost. I mean, the guy goes like crab, untap, crab, evolving wilds, and I was like, oh, fuck me. I guess I lose.
Which seems so bad, but,
I don't understand. Like, how did they get past creature decks? Like, the deck seems unable to beat any of the aggro decks. So, and it's best of one, so I don't understand. But it sure beats the crap out of the blue-white control decks. So.
Oh, that's so funny.
Anyways, my second run was lame. I was just 3-3, and,
Bummer.
I don't think I played that well and didn't get lucky. So,
yeah,
that's how that one went. But the first one, I was so close.
What a bummer. Well, I hope you had fun playing this weekend. I didn't play the event. I was just kind of burnt out from the last kind of weeks of playing.
Yeah,
So.
I mean, you played in that mega decathlon.
Yeah, so I was a bit tired from that, but it seemed fun. I think everybody was fairly happy. There were normal complaints about Alchemy's stuff, which is just every format of Magic. So
Yeah, and I was happy with, I had fun. I was happy with how things went, given that that's the first time I've played Alchemy in, I don't know, a month or something, because of the break and all that. So I literally just copied a deck list and hopped in blind.
yeah, that's great.
Seems like maybe my deck choice wasn't the best because of all these damn blue-red mill decks that everyone was playing. But
yeah, rough. But yeah, great. Anyway, Jeff, I think let's just jump right into this happy hour here.
let's do it.
Yeah, I think everyone basically knows what a happy hour is, as we mentioned it earlier in this episode. But yeah, we like to take some time at the end of a set to think of the good things that it had, and while everyone tends to focus on the bad things that were going on. Also, just, a fun time to reflect on some things we might have thought at the beginning and may not have stayed the same throughout our experience of this set.
Yeah, exactly. We're just kind of looking back on a set, how we feel about it at the end of it, and we try to be positive, basically.
Yeah. Our first Sips episodes always relate to this one. So if you want to hear our predictions, go check out that one. I think it's episode 53 or something like that. So, but first, big picture. Crimson Vow is the conclusion of our Innistrad quote-unquote block that we had of the two sets back-to-back. And I think it's fairly safe to say for the limited environment, it was bomb-heavy, bomb-centric. Considered a Prince set. I think that's what they call it.
I don't know if we've had one of these in a while.
Yeah.
I was trying to think about that. It felt like it's been a while since the rares were this powerful.
Yeah.
In limited. That was definitely a change of pace, because sometimes you just never knew. Your opponent could have something that was pretty much unbeatable. I remember the first draft I played, I got the Toxrill Slug, pack one, pick one. And I read it, and I was like, what the hell is this? All right, well, the whole draft is going to be about surviving until I cast this card. So I just took every black and red removal spell. So I had a black-red deck, but it was like black-red control to stall to Toxrill. And I got 7 wins off it by just playing Toxrill. The card just was unbeatable if they didn't immediately kill it.
Yes.
And obviously I didn't play it into open mana, so...
Yeah. It's a really gross card. But
and it's not even the best rare in the set.
No, there's a ton of them. And so some people talk, I don't know, we haven't really talked on the show about this before, but sets tend to be, I don't know, people consider them a Prince or a Pauper set, which is really like, is it like, do the rares matter a lot in the limited format, or do like the commons, uncommons matter a lot?
Yeah.
And with a lot of sets that we've had recently, and specifically Midnight Hunt, a lot of it was common centric, because if your deck worked really well and had the good synergy, you had a good draft. And this one was, hey, if you have a bomb and they don't have removal, you win. Which I think some people think of Prince sets to be very like bad. I don't know, bombs are like, oh, it's a bad draft format because there's bombs.
Yeah.
And I definitely started out thinking that, being like, oh man, there's like so many unbeatable bombs. This is crazy. But then the more I played, the more I was like, no, it's really fun because there's so many cool cards you get to play. Because there's enough bombs that it's like, sick. You have one, I have one probably. We'll duke it out.
Right. Everyone has good cards. Yeah, I mean, I was definitely going to say that because I noticed that too, that it has a bad connotation, Bomby or Prince, and it kind of always has. I think the set that really changed my mind was, or that made me think twice about that was, what's the one where all the planeswalkers are
Kids?
In the set?
Origins?
It's literally all planeswalkers. There's like 30
Oh,
something
War of the
of them.
Spark.
Yeah, War of the Spark. That was a huge bomb format because of all the planeswalkers, right? And then even the non-planeswalker cards were awesome, but I still just really enjoyed that format. And so I remember thinking, well, maybe just because the rares are dominant doesn't make a format bad,
Yeah.
And all it does is kind of sort of increase variance, maybe. And variance is like a reason we play the game. We wouldn't play this game in particular if there was no variance at all. So just shifting the variance one way or another, like you said, it creates a few more feel bad moments, but it also creates a lot of feel good moments of just like awesome stuff happening.
Yeah.
So yeah, whether it's a Prince or a Pauper doesn't actually mean much. And I think the narrative that Prince is bad is generally pushed by like the top end drafters who want to get as much edge as they possibly can. So variance is a bad thing for them. And, you know, just if you just always pick good commons, then you'll win more. That's good for the players who play a lot and are the top players.
Exactly. And know which ones they want or building specific decks.
They're more likely to get the commons, right? Because
exactly. There's more of them. But for
the average arena player like you and me, I mean, Prince sets are fun too. I think it's good to switch it up every once in a while. Sometimes have a set. Every once in a while, throw in a set where the rares are just awesome.
Yeah.
Like this one.
I definitely think that as far as drafting, I probably drafted this set more than any other one this whole year. Which I don't know if it's because maybe I have more time, because it's holiday time or whatever. But I just find myself wanting to draft this.
Decathlon.
Yeah. I just wanted to draft it constantly. And I know I say that about almost every set, but every happy hour is literally just me talking about how much I drafted the set. But I really do think this one specifically, I had a lot of fun, and it felt like my idea of what the draft format was going to be changed so much throughout the period of time playing it that I was happy I stuck with it, because at the beginning I was really down on it. Like, oh, I'm going to do badly,
I think I drafted Midnight Hunt more than this. So that was my highest drafted set of the year probably, but it wasn't because I didn't like this one. I just, started exploring alchemy and having fun with that, and then had a little less time to play during the holidays and whatnot. So, but I didn't burn out on this set or anything. I actually still like it.
Yeah. I played a couple drafts this weekend just to see what was going on with it again, just to, refresh my mind. And I did badly, but it was fun.
Right, there you go. And see, any draft format where you can like do poorly and still have fun, or any Magic format in general, I guess, is one you want to stick with, because you do a lot of losing in this game. That's just true. The best players in the world still lose like 35-40% of the time.
Yeah, exactly. I actually was working hard. The last draft I did ended up being like a blue-white auras deck. But it was like a mix between auras, and then I ended up drafting 4 Whispering Wizards, which is the one that cares about non-creature spells, where you get like the 1/1 spirit token, because nobody would take them. And I was like, well...
isn't that card good? I like that card.
It's really good, right? And I had passed a couple thinking that there was something else I needed more, and almost every creature in my deck was one of the aura creatures. So I was like, well, I get to play the aura and then get a creature that could play another aura on it. Seemed pretty fun. And with that draft,
card similar to that in Ravnica.
Yeah,
Guilds,
the bird
that card
one
was like a mythic uncommon, and that's it.
Yeah,
and that one was a 2/5, so it was harder to kill, but still.
Yeah, instead of this 3/2. Yeah, it's really good. So I was really happy with that, especially because I picked one by invitation only. So I was like, oh, I'm definitely gonna have more creatures than them.
Sack some birds, you sack everything.
Which ended up being great, because I could just hold that in my hand and keep my creatures or half my board alive for the most part. And that card is one of the only cards that gets rid of Averbrook Caretaker, which I ran up against a lot of times for some reason in that draft.
Of course.
But people really hate it when they play their Unbeatable Bomb and you play the only card in the set that can kill it. So
I know, and then it's like sometimes I get mad about stuff like that too. I'm like, that's the only card, and then I have to take a step back and be like, all right, well, I still played a ridiculous fucking card. Like, I don't. Yeah. It's not like I earned a victory there. It's just.
It was nice because by invitation only went up in my picks very quickly, because it was that card that could beat Averbrook Caretaker, which is the card you want to open when you start drafting. Yes, basically. So
yeah, I think so.
Yeah,
like green's not the best, but that card is so good that even though green's probably the worst color, it's still it's just like unbeatable.
Yeah,
and you want to be in red-green with that card anyways, which is, fine.
So yeah, had fun with that. I liked the Spirit Aura thing in this this set, but through our whole drafting thing, Black Red Blood still seems to be the best deck.
Yeah, I mean, it was sort of touted as the best deck in week 1. Very quickly everyone was like, all right, I guess Black Red's the best. And usually the week 1 best deck is not the best deck at the end of the season, but here we sit, and even according to 17 lands, Black Red still the best.
Still the best. I do want to mention that the best deck isn't Black White. That's weird. Why?
Well, it's because people didn't really learn how to draft it, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it, for sure. Yeah.
It wasn't just that I drunkenly predicted it would be without reading all the cards in the set. Or
Wait.
really any of them.
You didn't read all the cards in the set? That's crazy. You have to read every
If I'd
single
known
card.
how clunky the white-black cards were, I wouldn't have picked it. But
I mean, it can be a good deck, but it's definitely not the best one.
no, it's aggressively mid-pack. It's like as mid-pack as it gets.
Yeah. Though, once again, we do have to give applause to Crimson Vow for, a vampire set making the best werewolves. Good job. Good job, Crimson
Yeah,
Vow.
but to be fair, the vampires deck is also the best one. So they did right that wrong.
That's true. Okay, that is true. Yeah. I still can't believe that happened. I can't believe that the good werewolves were not in the werewolf set.
But honestly, if they just put a few of the cards that were in Crimson Vow had been in Midnight Hunt instead, the narrative would be totally different, right?
Yeah.
Just like, even if this alchemy card, we were talking about the alchemy werewolf, like if that had just been a card in Midnight Hunt, maybe red-green werewolves is the better build of red-green in standard.
Yeah.
And then it makes a standard splash, and then put one of the decent commons from this set in, and then maybe red-green werewolves isn't by far the worst deck in the limited format.
Yeah.
Just a couple of the cards from this set should have been in the previous one.
Yeah, it's so interesting how that all happened. I'm interested to know who was part of which team and how they decided to put Fateful Absence in the wrong set and all that kind of stuff. Like, it's so so strange.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, I don't want to talk too much about that because I don't know anything about it.
Let's just speculate forever.
Yeah, that's fun. You know what else is fun? The green-black Nicki Minaj deck, which is big butts.
The Anaconda deck?
The Anaconda deck. It's the super base. It pained me drafting every time looking at those cards go by and knowing I couldn't take them because they weren't good enough.
I don't think I ever drafted this deck. Like, the only time I drafted black-green, it was just black-green good stuff. And my creatures tended to have high toughness, but I definitely wasn't doing any of the high toughness theme.
It's so fun.
I know you played it enough to even us out there, but...
Well, when I say played it enough, I mean I played it once. I went 3-3 and I had a fucking blast. But I never drafted again because I didn't want to gamble every time. Being like, am I going to get a good one, or is my matchup going to be slow enough that I can maybe win?
Yeah.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah, I guess the other deck I wanted to point out was blue-black, because there's a lot of hype around it coming in.
Mm-hmm.
And it ended up being pretty bad, I think. And we figured out pretty quickly that it wasn't that good. I think my second draft ever, I did the blue-black exploit, and what on paper should have been a great deck just felt so clunky when I was playing it. And I think I played it to like a 3-3 or something, or 4-3, and I remember being surprised that I got that many wins because the deck was so... I got lucky to win that often.
Yeah.
And if I'd just looked at the deck list before the draft, I would have thought this is a good example of a blue-black exploit deck. And then playing it out, it was just like, wow, this is bad. Like, everything costs one more mana than it should. Like, the exploitability is not powerful enough to actually sack a real creature. So I always have to make sure I have something to sack. Mm-hmm. It's like setup and not that much payoff.
It again was kind of like, oh, exploit is good for this. It's a nice mechanic that has certain cards that are good, but you shouldn't build a deck around it. Very similar to one of the mechanics of the set that was brand new as we move into that was Cleave, which once again was a card. I mean, it was an ability that you didn't build decks around, but had cards.
No, I was
into
going to
it.
say in our tier list, I didn't notice 5-color Cleave anywhere in there, actually.
Yeah, we did predict that that was also going to be one of the best draft decks is 5-color Cleave, which, well, I never tried to build it, to be fair. I never gave it a shot.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it is the best deck.
It could be.
We just have no data on it.
Exactly. No one is talking about 5-color Cleave. Come on, people. Let's get building. But no, I think that looking at exploit like Cleave is like, hey, there's just cards that are good that have this ability. Don't build your deck around it. Might be closer because it's like, yeah, I want to play some of the exploit cards, but I'm pretty picky about them. And certain exploit cards don't go in the exploit deck. It's like the one that gets an instant or sorcery back. It's like, I like that in more of my spells decks or some of my other ones, but not necessarily my blue-black one.
Sack your burn tokens.
Yeah.
I think Cleave was also a mechanic definitely aimed at constructed. And this was... It's so funny to think back on things, but this was by far the most controversial mechanic. Do you remember everyone was blowing up about Cleave?
Oh my gosh.
And I think in the end, when I play with it, it just feels pretty natural. Like in the event that I played, the Arena Open, I had a bunch of copies, or 2 copies, of what's it called? Paralyzing Grasp, I want to say.
Yep.
It drains 3 from a human, and you have to pay an extra if it's not human. And I don't know, that card just felt totally normal to cast it. It just kind of felt like when you get used to kicker cards and you immediately, like you click way too fast and the options barely even have time to flash up before you've already done it. And it's not kicker because you literally can't cast the spell if there's not a target, right? So it's not... That card is an example where Cleave and Kicker are different because the card wouldn't really make that much sense. Like, you could do it. You could say if the spell wasn't kicked and the creature isn't human, like, you can't target it or something.
Yeah, or
it's like
something weird, but...
I guess you could do it at Kicker 1 black and instead destroy any creature. But it would be a really awkward Kicker design, whereas it's a natural Cleave design. And so I would say Cleave in the end is, I don't know what all the fuss was about. It feels pretty normal. It just, the cards do read a bit awkwardly.
Yeah, but the thing is, they read awkwardly when you're first looking at them, but then after playing with it and in client...
You're not reading the cards anymore anyways. You know what they do if they're in your deck most of the time. And so you just totally internalize what the card does. And then the mechanic ends up being pretty natural. It's just like I can do these 2 things depending on the situation at hand. Whereas Kicker was usually like, if I have more mana, I do the better thing. This was like, even if I have more mana, if it's a human, I'm still going to only spend 2 mana on it. Like,
exactly. Yeah, that's really true. It's also funny because, Wizard spends a lot of time trying to jam as many words onto cards as possible. And Kicker is an example of jamming more words onto cards. Cleave is an example of them trying to take words out of cards. I think we should be...
It's a way to do designs that would be clunky if they were built on Kicker, right?
Yeah.
They're more natural with Cleave.
Not only that, just we should be happy that Wizards is taking words out of cards.
Oh, you mean like the mechanic literally removes...
Yes, the mechanic literally removes words.
I thought you were saying like they can save space by being more efficient in their
that too.
wording. But...
Yeah, that too. But literally taking words off of cards is good.
And as we mentioned before, that it is also fundamentally different from Kicker because with Kicker, if a spell is double black, you can't change that with the Kicker cost. But there's examples of cards that they're double black if you don't cleave them, and they're only single black if you do.
Yes.
So then it changes the nature of that card.
So, Kicker is not every mechanic. Get it in your head. But yeah,
Cleave is every mechanic.
Cleave that's the new mantra. Cleave is every mechanic.
Cleave.
Everything is cleave now.
You can do pretty much anything with Cleave if you want to.
Oh, But yeah, moving on, we also got a new mechanic, which is training, which is... Hey, remember how Mentor was boring? Training is also pretty boring.
I was like, I don't want to say excited, but I was like, this feels like it's fixed Mentor. And in the
Yes.
end, it just feels like, I don't know, was it different than Mentor? Whatever.
Yeah. The only time I kind of liked it was that they had the, the fear of death. What was that blue enchantment that would, it was like -X -O equal to the number of cards in your graveyard, and it would mill you. It was like the blue removal spell. I thought it was kind of interesting that you could... It was annoying when your opponent was playing training cards, because if you put the fear of death on a training card, it would continue to get counters, even if it wasn't dealing any damage to you. So it digs itself out of that hole. I thought that was kind of a little cute thing between them. But that was the last time I thought about...
Then they exile your graveyard and have a huge creature.
Yeah, maybe. It's a weird plan, but yeah, I did kind of like that those were in the same set together, and they played. It was like a secret how they play, or they don't play well together. It was like weird strength for the training deck. Whenever I started running into
it needed all the help it could get.
Exactly.
That's why the training deck, we put it above the green blue deck. So
yeah. Well, green blue is just the worst color combination. Everybody knows that. It's horrible.
Yeah, we don't accept Simic folk around here. Just kidding. If you guys like Simic, you can still listen.
Yeah, I guess.
You need to have more fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know if the cards were just not pushed. Like the training cards, maybe they overvalued the training mechanic in design, and the cards were just kind of not good enough, or it just didn't work for... complicated reasons that have to do with, how many cards are in a set, or if just something has to be the worst and this was just it. But training felt like it never mattered.
Yeah.
Except in like really rare circumstances.
It only mattered if something cared about you training onto it. So like the gold card that cared about putting +1/+1 counters and stuff, it got lifelink. That was a big deal. And some other... What was the 2 and a green for the 1/4 with reach? That card was just annoying because it was a 1/4 with reach. But
right, we learned about that with the werewolf from the last set. It was just like pretty solid, just without even transforming it. It was probably the best werewolf.
It was definitely the best werewolf from... Yeah, just a 1/4 with reach. Who knew? Hey, let's look out for that in the future. 1/4s with reach, because is flying.
That one would just randomly be a 3/5 because you forgot it was a werewolf, because werewolves didn't matter.
And you're like, oh shit, that was bad on my part.
Yeah, okay, you're right. So just like how I don't really look at pacifism effects anymore that highly, or like the no untap stuff, the enchantment based removal, I don't consider it tier 1 unless proven otherwise anymore. I'm now going to consider 1/4s with reach tier 1 unless proven otherwise.
Perfect. Because they tend to be the reason that I don't win. I always rule this guys, and then that fucking thing comes down. It attacks once, now it's a 2/5. Fuck that. So annoying.
I'm like, oh yeah, 2/1 into like 3/2. We're rolling, baby, on the play. We can't lose 1/4. And I'm like, fuck.
It was the same thing with the gluttonous guest. The 2 and a black for the 1/4 that makes the blood token, and then you start gaining life. Yeah. Same fucking shit. Great. 1/4s for 3 are really good.
Apparently, yeah.
In like new draft, because like, you know how in new draft 2-drops are really important? Well, what nullifies their 2-drop more than a 1/4 for 3?
And the 1-drops are getting better.
Yeah.
So like the 1-drops are now more playable, but they also get brick walled by a 1/4.
So like half of their deck gets brick walled by a 1/4. Amazing. And they don't want to use a removal spell on it.
Spend a premium removal spell on it. Yeah.
They need to what is it? Bleed dry? Gluttonous guest? Like, come on. That would suck.
It feels so bad.
Feels so bad.
Especially with all the bombs in the set. Like, they're not going to do that.
You bleed dry the 1/4. Oh, that's so funny. Fuck.
We've all had to do it, though. We've all
Yeah.
just been like, oh, I hate everything that I'm about to do, but I have
Yeah.
to.
And the next turn they slam
I
something
can't
huge.
beat the 1/4. If they have
Yeah.
something better, then I lose, but I can't beat the 1/4.
It's also hard because you have to pull that trigger really early. Because you're like, I'm going to lose out on dealing them damage, and they're going to gain life if I let this stupid 1/4 stay. So
Yeah.
I have to choose
They'll get
right
time
now
to
whether.
get to their bomb.
Yeah. And then they just have it. Anyway, enough of that talk.
That's when they just have 2 more.
1/4. And you're like, oh, wait, that's a common? Shit. Wow, I shouldn't have used great removal on that common. Damn. But I guess that's a good time to transition to blood tokens, which people were super low on at the beginning and have pulled a full one.
Yeah, I definitely wasn't like low on them. I don't know why everyone hated them. I guess if you're comparing them to clues, that was why people didn't like them. Like if you're looking at them as bad clues, but that's just not really what they are. They're just different than clues. They're not better or worse.
I didn't like them because there was no madness in the set and no real discard strategy. So I was thinking that the Realm
There
Edge
was like
wasn't going to be good.
one fake madness card, right?
Yeah, Edgar's Awakening, which I have used to its fullest extent because I thought it was cool, except for it doesn't do anything when you madness it. You just put it back in your hand. But but anyway,
From the dream.
sick. Just love that dream. But yeah, I was pretty low on it because of that.
But now what do you think if they had included madness? How busted would blood tokens be?
It would have been horrible. It would have been so horrific.
That would have been madness. It would have been insane.
But unless they went back and did madness like they did in Odyssey, where it was a big green blue mechanic, was madness, but then blood was black red. Maybe. I mean, I guess it would be weird because they're like, it's the vampire mechanic. Why are you not putting it in the vampire cards? And then people would hate them. But
also, it's just not a green blue mechanic. It's so weird. But and a lot of the cards from Odyssey were like busted in half. So.
God, yeah, but except for like green blue's archetype in this was kind of like graveyard value ish. It was like, hey, mill yourself.
They're still trying to figure out something cool to do with green blue because it's always
madness.
Just ramp is the default.
Madness.
Then,
It's madness. That's what they need to do.
Figure out something else. Nah, they could do better.
We had like a couple threshold creatures in green, the taxidermy thing, the taxidermist, whatever, and a couple other green cards.
Yeah.
They were like green black cards, but really they should have been green blue cards. Add madness, get rid of any ramp crap, and then.
I was surprised to see that like threshold was really high on the storm scale. I didn't think it that bad a mechanic, but.
Yeah, so people who don't know what threshold is, it just means that your creature gets like buffed up or your spell or whatever. If you have 7 or more cards in your graveyard, that means you have threshold.
Yeah. It's kind of
so-
like delirium, but instead of card types, it just cares for the raw number of cards.
Exactly, which is probably the reason why they tried delirium, because they're like, oh, it makes the deck building more interesting, where threshold's like,
I guess the problem
Fetch
is the
lands and-
threshold is just too low. Like 7 is just too low.
yeah, probably. Because especially
They
in
even
eternal
changed
formats.
to rogues, they made it 8 for your
Yeah.
That's great.
That's probably it, but I don't know. I liked the opponent threshold thing. That was fun, but yourself, I'd be down.
I
Bring
liked
it back.
it too, obviously. Yeah. Or I was just thinking, delirium could totally be a green-blue mechanic. There's nothing particularly like mechanic-wise that force it to be black.
Yeah, and black red, like I don't know if they got so stuck on that vampires were like this madness thing because they represent madness, but like blue milling itself is like big. Mill is huge in blue, and self mill, they do it all the time. So blue green works great with that, especially because green has regrowth abilities. Come on, get it together.
Wait, you're talking about what are you talking about?
I'm talking about.
I was talking about delirium.
Yeah, and I'm just saying like delirium is good because blue wants to mill itself, which would put cards in
Yeah,
graveyard.
okay. I thought you were talking about madness for a second.
I was just saying that.
Mill doesn't work with madness, Zach. What are you talking about?
No, sorry. I meant like it felt like they keep putting delirium effects in black red because it's supposed to be like fixed. It's kind of like madness and kind of like that stuff. Where I want it to be in blue green, like we were just saying, because that would make blue green a lot more fun. Honestly, sorry.
Yeah, blue green. Like that's a great mechanic for blue green. We should work at Wizards.
We should. Let's make our own card game.
Yeah,
It's
let's
called
do it.
it's called Gathering the Magic. Perfect.
Yeah,
And
it's
then
gonna be great. There will be no lawsuits in our future for sure.
absolutely not. We're gonna start our own client where you can message your friends your deck lists.
Yeah, it's just Arena, but we like code on some crappy messenger app. Causes all sorts of problems.
It just links up with your Facebook, so you can talk to all your Facebook
Yeah.
friends.
So at any time you make a move in your game, it'll message all of your Facebook friends. The
It'll
move
notify
that you
everyone.
Just did.
No, it only does it when you lose every time, so it's incentive to
Zach
win.
lost a game.
Dude, were you on Gathering the Magic last night? Because boy, were you doing bad. You should just unlink that, man. Like, why are you doing that? All your high school friends are like, "What the fuck is this?" They think you're trying to like
There's
make them
no
join
way
a
to turn
cult.
that feature off.
Yeah. Oh, anyway. Oh man. Obviously, we should not make a game, but
Yeah, that
who
was
knows?
a
Hey,
disturbing idea.
it could be a tier or like a kind of platform thing in Patreon. So go to our Patreon. If you give us enough money, we'll make a game
Yeah.
that links with your Facebook. Oh
Yeah.
gosh. Anyway, Jeff, how did you like Disturb in the new set?
Yeah, so mechanic we know and love from previous set, but done differently. I liked it less, I guess, because it's auras, but it was still good. Like, it was still a good gameplay mechanic, and it played well, too. I just don't like auras that much. But it was a way to get more auras into my games. Like, I think this is the first time I've played auras in a limited format in a long time. So.
And I loved it. Amazing. It's so much better than playing a creature is an aura. Just phenomenal.
Yeah, I figured you might say that.
I loved it. I really did. Yeah, I thought it was great. Especially fun when you're playing all the blue ones in the Spells Matter deck. Or the non-creature deck, I guess.
Yeah.
All those cards triggering off of that. That felt chef's kiss, amazing. Love
And
it,
still crazy strong and limited even.
Yeah.
I thought maybe it would be a little weaker because auras you can't play on an empty board. And maybe that's true, but in practice I just found like almost all the disturbed creatures were really good.
Yeah. It was also just kind of nice that you have a bunch of these stupid ones and then you put auras. Even if you put auras on the creatures with Disturb, they like use the remove a spell to kill it. You're like, sick. Now that one's in my graveyard and I'll use it on a different creature. Yeah. And it's just like this annoying chain of like, what? I'm tired of this. The only thing was I would constantly forget how much the Disturb costs were. That was my thing that I had a problem with. I'd be like, oh, sick. Now I can play this for 2. Oh, it costs 4? Wait, you have to Disturb it for 4? I was like, oh, that's a bummer.
Yeah.
So, but that's...
I mostly played against
my
it
fault.
than with it, so I never needed to know any of that.
well, I mean, you need to know a little bit,
Nah. Whatever my opponent does, they do.
But yeah, I thought that was great. I really hope they bring Disturb back at some point for the future. I think it worked really well with the blood tokens and, as I was saying before, the non-creature stuff. So it had a good, like, everything kind of lapped on top of each other, as well as the training deck too, which obviously we were saying it wasn't good, but hey, those training cards look a lot better when they have abilities / get pumped up to help all the other kids train. So
Totally.
yeah.
Yeah, then obviously I guess technically we had Daybound, Nightbound, but don't need to talk about this one too much. It was the same execution as from the previous set. It just so happens the werewolves were a bit
Good.
better.
Yeah. And then Exploit, we already talked about that, how it was...
Underwhelming because it was clearly aimed at as a limited mechanic because none of the cards are really pushed for
maybe one of them.
standard that I can
The
think
counter
of.
spell.
Like I guess the counter spell one was clearly a standard aimed card that just didn't get there yet.
Yeah.
Actually, the most played one I can think of is the Scorpion. So
Yeah. That card's great. I like that
that's
one.
just the best one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that card. But if it's a purely limited mechanic and then it just didn't quite get there in limited because the format was mostly just a little too fast for it, almost feels like it wasn't really there. And that's exploit feels sort of like an afterthought of this format for me, because it's sometimes I have to be like, oh yeah, exploit, that was a mechanic in this format.
It feels like the reason I would want to play a mixed format of Midnight Hunt and Crimson Vow. It feels like part of one of the pieces of glue putting those sets together. Now, we haven't been able to really play that before unless you did the decathlon where you did the sealed with it, which kind of was what everyone was trying to do in the sealed was, I finally can get the Decayed zombies with the exploit thing. It still ended up being okay. It just seemed like Decayed was strong, and then exploit was also there to get some extra value. So you needed Decayed first. As usual, when you have an A-B kind of mechanic, you need the A cards first, and then some of the B cards to make it work. So, yeah. But, Jeff, we did have huge news in this. Like, this is historic. This set, Crimson Vow, is a historic set in the sense that this is the first time we had a new format that came out with new cards specified for this set. So, and we had a new mechanic that came with that as well.
Yeah, so the mechanic was Spellbook. So a bunch of different cards in the Alchemy, the first edition of Alchemy release, would have a Spellbook, and basically that meant they had 15 cards that are not from the set, kind of just from Magic's past. I don't even think, I think a bunch of them weren't even on Arena before this. And you would get to basically draft one of these cards. So you could look at 3 randomly selected ones and take one of the 3. What did you think of this mechanic, like after playing with it?
All right, so originally I thought it was fine. I didn't really care for it just because I never wanted to remember what any of them were. And I was really hoping that they wouldn't be necessary. It would just be like, oh, that's kind of a fun thing. It doesn't matter. As Alchemy has grown in popularity and is becoming de facto one of the best formats on Arena, which I 100% agree on as well. I also was unaware, hey, everyone out there, you might be similar to me, where you're like, man, this spellbook card, I'm mousing over it, and it only shows me one of the cards in the spellbook. Well,
right click.
If you right click it, you can look at all the different cards in the spellbook. You never have to have another page open reminding you what they are, which is what I thought I was going to do, and it took me a very long time to figure that out.
Listen, Zach, some of us play in full screen over here on Windows. We don't have time for other pages with the cards on them.
Okay, well, first of all, I have a Magic Mouse from Apple, so there's only one click, but it knows if you click on the right side, it will do the right-click thing.
That's very cool.
I just don't know that there are 2 buttons most of the time because I'm not used to that. So I didn't know I could right-click.
You can command-click, right?
Yes, I can command-click, but I didn't. I don't know. I didn't think I had to. It was confusing. So any Mac users out there confused, any users out there, hey, look at the spellbook cards, right-click them to see all the cards in the spellbook. Makes it a lot easier and a lot more fun. And now I think they're super fun. Of course, they never give me the cards I want when I play them, but they're super fun.
Yes, so I agree 100%. When I first read them, I was like, oh, this is just a crazy way to tack a ton more text onto cards, as is Wizard's way. But this is just taking it too far. There are 15 cards of text in one word on this card. But in practice, actually playing the game, spellbooks are just fun, and you don't need to know exactly what every single card in every single spellbook does. You just kind of need to know what the big ones your opponent could have are, like the really impactful ones. Or you could just be like, hey, whatever, I'll leave it to like the pro players to do the guessing game of figuring out all the different possibilities. I had a different experience where, because the spellbook I was playing with was the best one in the game, it just felt like my cards were way better than my opponents, and that led me to a lot of wins. You know, I'd look back and be like, oh, it's because I cast Time Warp, then I cast, Demonic Pact, and then I cast Time Warp again, and then I cast Demonic Pact again. That's why I won that game. Gotcha.
Or Demonic
While
Tutor.
my opponent was casting Demonic Tutor.
Yeah.
And while my opponent was casting 3/3s for 3 or whatever the hell they were. But it's just like, yeah, maybe that card needs a tweak, but the actual spell book, like that spell book is just too powerful. You need to change it. But the actual idea of spell books I found to be very fun.
Yeah.
And sometimes I'd always be like, because with that spell book in particular, it's like 80% of the time you're hoping for time warp, and then the other 19% of the time you're hoping for demonic tutor, and then 1% of the time you're hoping for like a random kill spell. But what would happen is I wouldn't get the ones I wanted, but there would still be a sweet card in there, and I'd be like, this will work. I could work with this, you know, and it would make me change my game plan because I didn't hit the one that I wanted, which would win the game for me for sure. But I could like, oh, maybe I could use this to kind of, maybe I'm winning with Approach of the Second Sun now, you know?
Yeah.
Like,
it definitely makes you more creative for sure as you're playing. And the simple thing is to know if a card was played from a spellbook. If you're like, oh, that's a card that was from a spellbook, so you know that it's been done. You don't have to think about it anymore. If you're kind of on my realm of, oh, they ended up looting away the card they got from spellbook because they didn't like any of them. Sick. All right, that's great.
Yeah, they're just gonna play Lear later, man.
Don't tell me that. Don't take away my hope.
What do you think they got with the tutor? It's always Lear.
Yeah. But yeah, I have come around on them again. I still like that they can change the spell books without having to change the card, and they could just be different. That seems fun. If you are playing in paper and want to play the spellbook cards, you get to make up your own spellbook, man. If you want to, that you think is more thematic, go ahead, do that. So I like the idea of the spellbook just in general in Magic, and in Arena, it's obviously
yeah. Really and I have one sort of funny story just to end maybe before the beer break here. It's just me not understanding all these newfangled mechanics. So I was playing a game, and I think so. I cast Approach of the Second Sun. You know, I had to change gears because that's the card I found, and I cast it, and I needed to win very quickly, basically, because I was under pressure, and the 7 life mattered. And so I had a Lear, though, so I was casting all these considers. It was like, consider, to make sure that I was getting to that Approach of the Second Sun very quickly by always just, not scry, but throwing away the top card. And then I was only able to get it so that my next draw step would not be Approach of the Second Sun, but the card after it would be. But I was like, oh, this is no problem. So on their end step, I will cast Solve the Equation. No, something the
Discover the formula.
Solution. Discover the formula. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was like, then because for some reason I thought Seek was like the top 3 spells on your deck would go into your hand. But that's not how Seek works. It just puts random spells into your hand without altering the way your library is stacked. So I thought that I would Seek into it with 100% certainty, and I did not get it. And I was like, wait, what just happened? I thought I should for sure get it. But I did Seek the card on top of it. So then on my next turn, I did draw it.
Oh.
So I was like, did I just blow this game? Because I was so sure that Seek would find me the Approach of the Second Sun, and it didn't. It was 3 other cards. And then I drew the Approach, was like, wait a minute, what just happened? And I was like, oh, I Seeked the card on top of it.
See, the thing is, I don't even know if that's right, because I'm also under the same impression that Seek is the topmost cards. It's like Cascade, but different. That's what I thought.
I thought so too, but so I looked it up afterwards.
Okay.
It says, the game will automatically choose a random card meeting specified criteria from the library and put it into their hand. But it won't make you shuffle. It doesn't change the order.
Yeah, because that would have been
Approach was still
horrible
there,
for you.
and I was lucky, and I Seeked the card right off the top of it.
That's crazy. See, learning things that I didn't even know on my own podcast. That's amazing.
I went from sure I was going to win to thought I fucked up so bad that I was sure I was going to lose to, oh, no, wait, I still win.
Everything's fine.
In 1 second.
Oh, gosh. All right. Well, with that, Jeff, my beer is empty and I'm ready for a beer break. This beer break is brought to you by our patrons over at Patreon.
That's right. You're already supporting the show just by listening, but if you want to support the show even more, the Patreon is the best way to do that.
And when you become a patron, you get an exclusive invite to our after party, which is a mini episode recorded immediately after this one, where we ramble on about non-magic related things.
Plus, if we make enough money, we will design a game that embarrasses you in front of all your friends.
Yep, so go to patreon.com/arenaregulars to fund your new favorite game. Ooh, it's fizzing up a little bit. Alrighty.
What do we got here, Zach?
We got a beer. 3 beers, to be exact. Just kidding. It's a triple.
Oh, my.
So last week we did Shackland's double. So we thought, of course, we should do a triple. And I wanted to bring this one because it has the most alcohol in it. 7.9%. And it has 3 pictures of a monk. Sorry, it has a picture of 3 monks. There we go, on the can. So none of them are us because none of them are holding beers. And I would never be a monk unless I had a beer.
Yeah, for some reason the double guys were having more fun than the triple guys. But
Yeah. Is that true? Is that us? We're double guys having more fun than triple guys?
I guess so.
Sure. I'll go with that. Awesome. Jeff, I think it's time to look back at our first Sips episode and see how right or wrong we were about some predictions / basketball shots.
Here at the Arena Regulars, we like to hold ourselves accountable. Plus, it's just fun. It's just funny to look back and be like, oh, we thought that card was going to be good, huh?
Huh. Interesting. And in my case, it's usually like, wow, you didn't think about this very much, did you?
Oh, it's always just so hard. When you don't get to play with a card and you're just reading it, it's so difficult. I'm still proud of nailing the Lear thing. You know, I'm gonna take that with me to my grave.
That was
right. That Lear was stupid good.
That was crazy. All right, so if you haven't listened to one of our First Sips episodes before, you should probably stop this one right now. Go back to our First Sips episode and listen to it. But if you don't want to do that because I get it, whatever, it's...
Yeah, I never do that when people tell me to do it.
I just thought, people say that. I thought I should say it. So anyway.
It's a thing.
It's a thing. We always predict our best cards for Standard. At the time, we were talking about Standard, but now it's weird because there's a new format. But we like to do them in basketball shots. So we have a layup that's super easy, a 3-pointer that's kind of hard, and then a half-court shot that's like probably not gonna get there, but we wish it would. So starting with that, Jeff, what's your layup? What's the card that you're like, you know what, this is gonna be in decks. It's gonna happen.
All right. Proud to have sussed this one out. I think it was on nobody's radar coming into the new formats. This is Hullbreaker Horror. That card's insane. Interestingly enough, it sees more play in Alchemy than in Standard. Because in Standard, it's like Alrund's Epiphany is still just the best control win con.
Yeah.
But in Alchemy, this is. So, well, actually, I guess in Alchemy, if you consider it a win con, Key to the Archive's kind of the best win con, but or maybe a Lear. But a lot of people play a mix of those cards, and Hullbreaker Horror is definitely a presence in Alchemy. So I'll take this one. I'll say I kind of got it. I don't know.
I think this is a slam dunk. They immediately were playing this and continue to play it in Standard, even if it's not as rampant. But
and I was kind of thinking that Alrund's Epiphany would be banned. So I was thinking Standard, but I was like, if Alrund's Epiphany gets banned, this has to be
the
de
new
facto
thing.
Control finish.
And because we got Alchemy and decided not to ban anything, I think it works. It's hard because, they pulled the rug out from under us, and we thought Standard would be relevant, but it's...
it was going to be one of my shots, actually, that they're going to invent a new format that they'll release to us in a few weeks. But for some reason, I didn't say it.
I just forgot,
I was totally thinking it, yeah. All right, what was your layup?
So my layup was Maniform Hellkite.
Sorry, what? What card?
All right. It's the dragon that cares about non-creature spells and stuff.
Never heard of it.
It didn't do exceptionally well. It probably.
Oh, it's the dragon that destroys your land, or you take 2 down. That one?
No.
That one's good.
That one is good.
Oh, not that one.
No, it turned. No, this is the one that makes more dragon illusions when you play more cards. It saw like some play at the beginning of the format until people decided that it wasn't good.
I don't know if we've seen the end of this card. Like, there's still a while in its tenure in both Alchemy and Standard, and I think at some point because the raw power level is very high, so at some point this card could just break out. It just needs the right shell. All of a sudden, you have this deck with the only creatures are this and the egg, and then it's just a bunch of cantrips and stuff. Something like that could very easily just start taking over. But
it could.
for now, I would say
it's also in this weird space where like every time a new set comes out, there's like a 4-mana 4/4 red dragon of some kind, or like
yeah, that's true. They really loved those types of cards recently.
I think through the past year or so, we've gotten like 5 or so, like a lot. It's just like a lot, and this is just another iteration of those dragons, and there are better ones. So it ended up being not the layup I
don't even
thought.
know if the other ones are better. It's just that this one asks a bit more of you.
It does.
It asks that you're in like a spell slinger shell, whereas the other ones are like, put me in any deck that can cast me, I'll be strong.
But also, this one doesn't do anything when it hits the battlefield, which classic, like, so Hullbreaker Horror also doesn't do anything when it hits the battlefield. It just, you can play it at instant speed and untap and do a bunch of shit. This one you can't. And, so.
But even that, like, usually Hullbreaker Horror just gets held in hand until you have this plus Fading Hope,
and then it's over.
Then you're off to the races.
And then I concede as soon as that happens, because I'm always playing a deck that just can't beat it, so I'm like, it's over.
I never knew Fading Hope would be such a big fucking part of the metagame, but man, I hate that card.
I have always loved Unsummon, so Fading Hope. Yeah. I mean, Fading Hope's a lot better, but
I know, but if you told me Unsummon is going to be, because a lot of the time it's pretty much just Unsummon.
Yeah.
Like, Unsummon is going to be a terror of the new Standard format. It'd be like, you're crazy. But most of these decks just wouldn't be a thing without Fading Hope. So.
Yeah. It's so awesome.
Lear wouldn't be so protectable.
Yeah.
The Hullbreaker Horror wouldn't be so good. Alrund's Epiphany decks would have a harder time catching up to the the aggro decks. Like, this card has just warped everything somehow, and it's like mildly improved Unsummon.
Yeah. Yeah, basically. But Jeff, what is your 3-point shot?
All right, this one I have seen a lot of people playing, but they're all me, and it's Cultivator Colossus. This was the big green card that plays all your lands. So like when you play it, you basically put lands down into your hand and redraw cards until you don't have any more lands. And I love this card, and it's great, but nobody else seems to like it.
It is the best. It's going to be the best ninja of the new set. I'm just saying. So.
Yeah, if you ninjutsu this thing on turn 4, that's a beating.
It's a beating.
I mean, it has suffered from that, right? Like, no real good ways to cheat it in. If there's ever a good way to cheat this in, this becomes the automatic target for that.
Cheat card.
It's the best thing to cheat into play early. And when you're ramping into it, it's not quite the same, because like playing it naturally, you probably have very few lands left in your hand.
Yeah.
And so its power is a little mitigated. But I do love the combination of this with Wrenn and 7, because Wrenn and 7 comes down, makes a tree folk, and then untaps and puts a bunch of lands into your hand, and then you cast this and put all of those lands into play.
That's nice. I like that.
So there's something there. It's a lot of fun. It's just not as good as copying Alrund's Epiphany.
Yeah. Which, nothing really is. So you can't really, that can't really be the measure. You can't be looking for something that's better than that.
That's the bar. If it's not better than copying Alrund's Epiphany,
yeah, you're not going to have a lot of fun doing that. Mine, I haven't seen it on the battlefield really that much at all in Standard. Maybe a little bit at the beginning, but Anya, Maid of Dishonor, has just wrecked me in some draft formats and some Alchemy, but not necessarily Standard. So
I don't know exactly where.
I think I was kind of off base with a few of these things.
I don't know where the Vampires deck landed. But I remember Gab Nassif was testing Vampires a lot. He didn't end up playing it at the championship, but he was piloting it a lot and to good success. And his starting point was just one of each 4-drop. So he had like one Anya, one Sorin, one like Blood Vial Purveyor, one Henrika Domnathi.
Yeah.
And I think there was even one more. There's just so many options for red black 4-drops, and you don't want that many. But I remember him lamenting that he was just playing one time, and he was like, every time I've drawn one of the 4-drops, they've just been awesome. And so I don't know which ones to cut and which is the right one to play, because it always just seems like they're really good. So I know he was playing Anya for quite a while. And I don't know if eventually they found out it wasn't the best 4-drop, or if it was like an Anya Sorin split is the right answer, because that's what I would have been leaning towards, I think, is like 2 Anyas, 2 Sorins, something like that. Because, as we might get to, I didn't think Blood Vial Purveyor was worth playing. But I think I see some people, like, I see this more than I see other people play Cultivator Colossus. I mean, I've seen a lot more Cultivator Colossus because I've been playing it, but in terms of my opponents, I've seen more Anya than Colossus.
I think I've seen some brushstroke decks that have this, but, like, for the most part, in Standard, I just haven't seen it at all. No Vampire, anything, nothing close, and it just wasn't around, so, you win some, you lose some.
I think mine was an airball and yours hit the rim, maybe.
Yeah, okay. Thank you. That's very nice.
Let's do that. Hey man, it's hard to hit the rim from the NBA 3-point line.
That's true. I think with my next ones, we might have missed altogether. But what's your half court shot?
All right, my half court shot was Faithbound Judge. This is the 4/4 that turns into the curse that just like ticks down to you winning the game. That's basically the gist of the card. It's like a blocker, and after a certain number of turns, it can actually attack. But if it dies, it can come back as something that just ticks down to a win. I've never seen this card outside of Limited.
I've seen this card a lot, and I've been playing it. I've lost a lot to trying to play this card.
Oh, I thought you lost a lot to this card.
No. I think
you lost to this card because you were playing it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And there just so happened to be a really good amount of things that exile stuff from your graveyard. And this is a really juicy target to rip out of your graveyard. So
for sure.
Yeah, it's been
and it costs 7 mana to bring back. So
yeah.
It's like
yeah. I've tried a lot of different things. Hasn't worked out. So I also wanted it to be a half court. I wanted it to get there. I tried really hard on this one. I tried the whole like, hey, let's do a control deck and do Alrund's Epiphany with it to heal him faster and
turns out there are easier ways to kill them with Alrund's Epiphany.
Yeah, there are, yeah. And it wasn't even that fun, which sucked. Like, playing this card wasn't fun, which was the big bummer.
That's the ultimate bummer, then. Yeah.
So.
All right. Well, that was a miss, then. Screw this card.
Fuck that card, man. And this next one, I still love. I might build a commander deck around this stupid thing. But, I won't. Never mind. It's terrible. I can't do that. But I picked Catilda Dawnheart. What is it? Dawnheart Martyr. So she is the star that cares about enchantments and spirits that give her stuff, and she has flying and lifelink, and then will aura that onto someone else in her disturb cost. Which I played a lot of Faithbound Judge with this card. It's probably a lot more fun with like a go wide strategy, and this might be your only aura as opposed to playing it in an auras deck. But yeah, I mean, it's still fun. I just don't think we have the pieces yet. Some of the spirit stuff isn't there right now. Maybe we'll get some stuff in Kamigawa, actually. That gives me a little bit of hope.
There you go.
We'll definitely get some spirits. So so we'll see. Maybe that will become a thing. We'll get some more pieces for it. Maybe there's some enchantment stuff in Kamigawa. I don't know if they're going to they might do something with that. I'm not really sure, but that would be cool. But at the moment, we just don't have it. We don't have the stuff we need. But I'm still going to work, It's my half-court shot. I think I completely missed. I probably threw this one, and it hit a fan. in the front, and they got a nosebleed from this one.
Yeah. I think I scored on my own baskets.
I played the curse on myself. But a little rough this round. I've been pretty happy
We
with,
didn't do as well as last time.
our worthless lots have usually been pretty strong. However, this last one has been pretty rough. I think we got
a little overboard.
We got a little too excited. I think we were pretty egocentric because the last few we'd done pretty well. So then we're like, you know what? Let's take some like extra shots, and then they just didn't go well.
Yeah.
They didn't get there. We did some overrated.
My half court shot will be Thalia.
Yeah, it's the she's a reprint, but whatever. Who cares? We did do some overrated and underrated cards. So, Jeff, you already alluded to your overrated card, and I think I agree.
Yep, Bloodvial Purveyor. So nobody plays this card, as far as I know. And for some reason, people were pretty excited about it before the set dropped. So that's what you have to understand for the overrated. Underrated is relative to like hype around spoilers. Mm-hmm. And this was a card that I felt like people were just really hyped about, in particular for Standard. And I was like, no, isn't this like maybe a commander card or something? Like, I know it's not legendary, but the type of card that you will see there.
It's not even great.
It's just a 4-mana card that dies. Like, I don't know.
It's not even a great card in draft. I've played against this card a lot in draft and beaten it a lot in draft. So
yeah, same. It's just like big.
Yeah,
like,
it's
in
just,
modern Magic, you can't play creatures that are just big and don't do anything when they enter the battlefield. You have to get your value from your card.
You can't play creatures that are big, don't do anything, and give your opponents value while they kill it.
Yeah. Not only does this not do anything when it enters the battlefield, it actually does something for your opponent. It has like a negative ETB.
There are times when
because they're going to cast a spell to deal with it.
Yeah, there were times when I'd purposely play other spells, like leave it alive for a turn to get some more blood out of it before I kill it.
Yeah, totally. I'd literally like let them hit me with it once because I wanted more blood tokens.
Yeah, it's like it's hilarious. Yeah, that one didn't pan out, which is great. My overrated card, everyone flipped their shit on Twitter for like 3 days, and then I've never seen this card ever. Which is
nobody plays this card.
Alchemist Gambit, which is an extra turn spell that kills you on your next turn. The regular red extra turn spell does, or it cleaves for blue that makes it a regular extra turn. And nobody plays this.
Yeah, I remember the outcry for this card. Everyone was like, "Oh, well, they just stopped printing extra turn spells." It's like, I kind of like the design of this one. Like it's a nice use of cleave, and I don't mind the red version of extra turns where you lose right away.
Exactly.
I think those are kind of fun.
Yeah.
So, and they've never been good. So
look at that.
I don't know why people thought this was an exception, but we nailed the overrated.
We sure did. Did we nail the underrated?
Well.
What'd you say?
So my underrated card was Hamlet Vanguard, which this was the human tribal card. So this is the 1/1 for 2 and a green with Ward 2. But it enters the battlefield with 2 +1/+1 counters for each other non-token human you control. So the idea is like you curve out, human, 1-drop human, 2-drop human, and then 5/5 Ward 2 for 3. It's kind of the dream. I mean, you can get this bigger, but that's what you're hoping for when you play this card. And then the downside is like you're kind of expecting a 3/3 Ward 2 for 3.
Yeah.
So I still think this card is pretty good, and it did show up at the Innistrad Championship in the historic Humans deck, which was the most popular deck. So people did play it. Now that deck did not do well. So, this card wasn't so underrated after all. But I think at least I was right that the card is good if Humans is a real deck.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it was just the wrong tribe. That the other tribes ended up being a lot better than Humans, which I'm honestly like, phew, thank God. Like, I was kind of worried about Humans for a second, and now I'm like, whatever, that's good.
Yeah, you just have to imagine, like, there was the 1-drop training human is pretty good, into Thalia, into this. It's like, how are you ever beating that? That's insane. Oh, and hitting it with Collected Company is good too because you have another human in play when it ETBs.
Ooh, that's true. That's really true. So in Historic, hey, worked out a bit. Not as much in Standard, but the card that I picked for underrated is I had just done a draft with this card and I really liked it. When I had done this, the thing about this card, it's Cemetery Protector. So it's the white card in the Cemetery cycle, and it's the 3/4 flash. You exile a card. You get to make 1/1s for all the different types of things that you play off of it. The problem with this card, and honestly the problem with the red one as well, is that the other Cemetery cards care about when it enters the battlefield and attacks. This one does not. It doesn't trigger on attacks. You get to exile one thing and then go forward with that. The reason the other Cemetery cards are kind of frustrating is not just that they exile something and they get value from it, usually some sort of like discount, but they continue to attack and exile cards from your graveyard that you might need, and that becomes a good way to have hate on their graveyard. Because this one doesn't do that, which I might have. I didn't miss it on the first time, but I didn't realize how important that was going to be to these Cemetery cards. And the scenario that I thought this card would be good in was really difficult to come up with. This is bad.
I mean, I think in the end, none of the Cemetery cards are really good, though, right?
They're only annoying. I've dealt with like the blue one and the green one being like. The green one's annoying because I'm like, I don't want your shit to be cheap. And the blue one is a flyer, so it's just inherently annoying. But like, like
none of them like really see play, right?
I've seen the green one in a lot of those like green stompy decks, or I guess it's alchemy, but like green stompy decks or some of the werewolf stuff because it's a wolf.
I haven't really run into any of them personally.
It just gets like...
I think I ran into the green one in a really weird blue-green ramp deck.
Yeah. It could easily be because I was playing some garbage, like graveyard-centric thing where I was like, fuck this card. You're just going to get rid of all my shit every time, and I would like hate it.
I know, normally I hate cards like that because
Yeah.
I'm playing the janky graveyard, self-mill graveyard theme.
Yeah, so I'm like, I don't even care that it came... Like, if it just didn't get the stuff when it attacked, I'd be fine. Like, I don't give a shit. But because it got to do that every time it attacked, it was really, really frustrating. So yeah, my Cemetery Protector is trash. It's really bad. Not even...
It was appropriately rated, as it turned out.
Yeah, it was not under anything. It's bad.
It was underpowered.
Yeah, that's right. Underpowered. There you go. But let's stop talking about things that we predicted wrong and weren't good at and all that stuff. This is a happy hour. Let's be happy. Let's talk about some of our favorite cards from different what are they called? Formats? There we go. That's the word.
Yep.
So limited. Let's talk about what's your favorite limited card? What's the card that you're like, yes, I want to have one of these in my deck. I got one. That's going to be a good draft because I got this card.
So it's weird, but I love Reckless Impulse, which is like the what's the first card that really got on the map with this kind of thing that made mono red so good? But basically, it exiles 2 cards and then tell you the end of your next turn you can play them. And I just love this card in my red decks because it would just hit you land drops on turn 2 and spells late in the game, like. You know, if you have to play it on, or usually I guess not on, oh no, you would play it on turn 2. Yeah, you play it on turn 2, and that almost guarantees you your third land because you have 3 looks at it. Mm-hmm. And so you could keep like sketchier hands, but then also in the late game, if you were flooding out a bit, this would help you by just like drawing 2 more cards for the cheap cost of 2 mana. It just really feels like a 2 mana divination a lot of the time. And I dig that.
Yeah. And that is a super underrated card because even today, I have seen that go way late. Like, that card is wheeling.
I know, and people don't take it. And I want, like, all of them. Especially in the Spells Matters decks. Like, cards like this are just invaluable.
Yeah. And in every other red deck, I want one at least. So
I felt like this was definitely my biggest delta in how good I thought it was and how good everyone else seemed to think it was, like the difference between those two things.
yeah. My favorite limited card was surprising. There, obviously I like the ores and a bunch of different things, and it was an ancestral anger. Funny enough, but it happened to actually be Ballista Watcher, because it's obviously a super powerful werewolf that I liked a lot. But to me, most of the time, if I was drafting and I saw a Ballista Watcher, I was like, red's open. Like, red must be open.
Yeah.
This card's really good. So it was.
This is one of those werewolves that should have been in the previous set.
Yeah. It was, it can, ping things. And then after that, it just like blasts everything down and makes it so they can't block.
I also love the flavor.
Yeah. Like, it's so good. He's just standing watching this ballista and then he picks it up and fucking just bolts
On the
people.
backside, he's using it as a weapon.
Yeah.
That's great.
But it was also the kind of thing that, like, when there's a Ballista Watcher on the battlefields, it's really hard to keep it from flipping because your opponent or that you don't have to play any cards in your hand. You can just flip it and then spend 6 mana to, either ping 2 things or kill something with 2 toughness. Like, you can just always pass your turn and flip it. Like, you never have to.
In fact, I felt like that was the default action. If you had 6 mana, you would pass and then just double ping almost every time. Like, if you were thinking about doing something else, you'd usually default to just passing.
So I really liked that. I thought that was a really good werewolf design, and I was kind of sad that, again, it wasn't in the werewolf set. But that was definitely a card that caught my eye every time it was in a pack, and I love to see it. So,
yeah, it's a cool card. I very rarely saw it in draft, unlike my pick, which I saw constantly.
Anyway, Jeff, standard cards. I think we already know what this one is. Just go ahead and say it.
It's Cultivator Colossus. That card is great. It's so fun. Like, you play it, and then you just start slapping lands down. And in the deck I was playing it in with Ren and 7, you would literally slap down, like, 8+ lands. And your opponent's just sitting there while you draw cards and put lands onto the battlefield, and your Colossus is just ticking up in power. Oh, it's so great. Then they just kill it or whatever, but it's still fun.
Then you have a bunch of lands, and then your creature from Ren and 7's huge.
Yeah, and you have a fully stocked hand, because however many cards you had in hand when you cast it, you now have that many spells.
Yeah.
Right? Because all the lands get filtered out.
Nuts.
So it is a great card. It's obviously just, its main problem in the current format is that it's just a bit too slow. If you're going to be spending 7 mana, it has to kind of win you the game immediately, and this usually...
You have to take an extra turn.
Puts you pretty far ahead. Yeah, and it has to survive. But usually the ETB is enough to put you far enough ahead, but against a deck that can just win in a single turn, like the maybe blue-red spells, or blue-red control, or whatever you want to call it, blue-red turns, that's not good enough.
Yeah.
So that kind of single-handedly ruins this card's chances, because, paying 7 mana to put yourself ahead, really far ahead, just isn't good enough. It has to win.
Yes, that's right. My favorite card for standard was actually Savior of Allenbach, which is the 3 mana.
I actually had to look this up when you wrote this. I don't know what this is.
Yeah, so it's the 3 mana 1/2 with training that it's in white. And when it when it trains, you get to O-ring one of their things. But you can also do it from a graveyard, so it's a good way of also getting stuff back from your graveyard.
Oh yeah, it's like the weird, right.
That can kind of like protect it, that if they end up killing it, you get 1 or 2 creatures back, which is really great in that deck, especially as like a weird board wipe protection after you've like kind of traded off some things. It's a card that I wanted to put as my layup, but I was like, it seems too obvious to me at the time. But this card slotted into mono white pretty easily, and if you're on the play, this is one of those. It doesn't do anything when it enters the battlefield, which is a reason why I was like iffy about it. But it's really fun if you get that first training on, because then it's really hard to stop it after that.
Yeah, if you're on the play, right, that's a nightmare, because you're just never going to have anything to block it.
Yeah.
It's going to train twice or whatever.
And it's not even, yeah, it's either it takes away the blockers when you're attacking, or the good block or whatever, and leave them with a shit block, or like I was saying before, you just protect yourself. So I like the versatility of that, which is really nice. So anyway,
I think my only concern with this card was that as a 3-drop, and white already has so many good 3-drops that it's like,
yeah, but
it's really metagame dependent which ones you want to play. Like if there's no creature decks, maybe, I don't know if you play this, I don't know.
yeah,
Because it just dies to shock or whatever.
that's true. You're right. I still think it's and I had some of the same worries, but
Like against a control deck, obviously Paulo's a better 3-drop.
Yes.
But against a creature deck, this is probably better than Paulo.
Yes. So, yeah, there's a lot of those things. But it did actually make it into a lot of decks, and I was happy with it. So, cracked in there. Should have used it for something else, but I did not.
Yeah, no, and so I like the design a lot too.
Yeah.
It's really cool. It's a really cool, like, weird split between exile your stuff to get ahead and exile my own stuff to, like, hedge my bets, kind of.
Exactly. I think it's sweet. But alchemy. So we do have a new category, which is weird. We're not used to this. But what's your favorite alchemy card for Crimson Vow?
For me, this is no question. Listeners who've been around a while know I love red-black sacrifice stacks. I love aristocrat-style strategies, and they made one of the best cards they've printed in recent memory for these types of strategies in Sanguine Brushstroke. So that's when it enters the battlefield, it creates a blood token and a blood artist. And then whenever you sack a blood token, each opponent loses one and you gain one. Great card.
It's really good. I die to it a lot.
See, I play control, so this is like my easiest matchup. But that deck is very good against everything else.
Yep. Yeah. Against the decks I play, like creature decks. Yeah.
It's very good against creature decks.
It is. Interesting that my favorite alchemy card would be Inquisitor Captain, which is one of the best alchemy cards. It's got to be.
Yeah.
Or at least.
I think the best alchemy card, I mean, for me, it's Key to the Archive.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
This is probably second best.
To the point where people
Or
are like.
Sanguine Brushstroke maybe is up there with it. But
Yeah. A lot of people are saying that it needs to be nerfed or something needs to happen with it, which I'd be kind of bummed about, but I've been playing this like best of one.
I didn't play against this at all in the event, though.
In best of one? Really? I played best of one clerics, and it's so fun.
I never played against. Oh, maybe I did once. Oh, yeah. In my second run, I lost my first game to clerics, actually.
Yeah.
That's the only time I played it. I played a lot of dragons.
Yeah.
People seem to love dragons.
Dragons is like tier 1, I think.
Like I said, I played a bunch of the mill deck.
Yeah.
Which I think was I think it was just a this event only kind of thing.
Yeah.
I had a lot of control mirrors, definitely.
Interesting.
But most of the creature decks I played against were dragons decks.
Yeah. Dragons seem pretty strong. But that's part of why I like the clerics deck, is because you can gain enough life that you don't die to the dragons, because they're taxing you on your lands every turn, which is also something I think is really fun. So I probably will play the dragons deck at some point, because hey, making people decide whether they take 2 damage or lose a land is exactly the kind of thing I want to do, because I'm a shithead like that. So
Hey, man. That's good.
Whatever you want to do. But Inquisitor Captain is the one that's like a collected company. When it comes into play, you get to take another creature out of the pick of 2. And but you always hit something. And this one, the thing that's really fun about it is because in this clerics build I have, if you are playing Glasspool Mimic, you can pull that card and you can pick Glasspool Mimic, copy the Inquisitor Captain, do it again, and try to chain them together. And then because you're having all these, you're playing that angel that every time a creature enters the battlefield, you gain life equal to its toughness. So you're getting a ton of life, and then it gets an anthem if you're at 27 life. It can go off. Like, it just explodes, and it's really,
sure.
really fun.
You're getting 6 life every time you hit the Inquisitor Captain,
Yeah.
right? Off the mimic.
Yeah. And it's plus whatever else you're getting, and hopefully maybe another angel that's going to pump your team even more. So it's very much the card that I play, and like maybe I win this turn, and it happens. So,
Yeah.
so I like it. I like it.
I got smoked by it, like I said. I mean, I kept a hand that was really good in control mirrors, and then they played like turn 1 cleric, turn 2 cleric. I was like, oh, well,
no.
duress. Oh, nothing.
Oh, cool. It's not one of your creature
You're
removal
playing the
spells.
Inquisitor Captain deck,
Yeah.
so my duress is not that good, is it?
It hits like the artifact that the altar from Kaldheim that like sacks a creature and goes and gets the better one from your deck.
Which they run like 2 of, maybe.
Yeah. But
Yeah, I actually found the Dragons deck was an easy matchup for me because I have a lot of 1-for-1 unconditional removal, the Vanishing Verse. So it's just like, okay, you play your dragons, I trade for them 1-for-1, and then I do my thing. It's a little more powerful. Like, I wasn't even killing the whelps. I'd be like, sure, have your whelp.
wow.
Everything in your hand is cheaper every turn. Doesn't matter. Wrath of God, see ya.
You're getting pinged with your lands every turn? You're getting shocked every turn?
Yeah, I mean, one game I remember winning against them, I basically just passed the turn. I think I like bounced their the dragon that does that.
Town Razor Regent, yeah.
I literally bounced it back to their hand. And then they did it again, obviously on a different land. And then finally, when I was ready, it was like, all right, fine, I sacked those 2 lands. It doesn't matter anymore. And then it's like Time Warp, go get Lear, Time Warp, like whatever. You know? And then they just basically concede. Or I think it was just like, oh yeah, Wrath your board. They were able to bounce their own Imrith back to their hand. And then they recast Imrith, and then I was like, all right, don't care. Time Warp, go get Lear. Time Warp, go get whatever I want. You know, like, and it just felt like that was pretty busted. I let them make everything in their hand cheaper several turns in a row. I let them make me sack 2 lands and play a bunch of dragons, and none of it mattered. Like, this card needs to be changed.
Now you're just showing off. Now you're just making me feel bad. I'm playing this
It
cleric.
felt like that. But I got lucky a bit, right? Because I hit all the best things off.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Historic. What's your favorite historic card?
So this one I couldn't really answer because I legitimately don't know if I've played Historic since Crimson Vow came out.
Yeah.
I actually am not sure that I have. But I looked through and I was like, what cards do I know? Like, I know certain cards have cracked the Historic metagame from like the Championship and all that. So I chose Voice of the Blessed. This is like the strictly better Johnny's Pride Mate that gets like flying and vigilance and indestructible.
It costs double white
made
though.
That like green. Oh yeah, okay, it's not strictly better. Even though that card was almost exclusively played in mono white, Johnny's Pride.
Yeah. I'm just saying,
But,
Voice of the
I know
Blessed
that
is really
this
hard
card-
to cast sometimes with your lands in the deck that I play. So it's like, fuck this fucking card. I can't get it.
True.
It's so annoying. But anyway, sorry, continue.
But I know this made like a combo deck with the Heliod thing, like a viable historic strategy, at least for a little while. I don't know if it still is considered good. But I like when this kind of card is good because a lot of new players love these cards.
Yeah.
I know that. Like a Johnny's Pride Mate is one of the most played cards on Magic Arena. And so it's nice when it's actually good. Now, I don't want it to be tier 1 because I don't want to have to run into it literally every single time I play a game. But it's nice when, like, you know, new players can get rewarded and be like, hey, this is a good strategy. You know, I'm glad that you like it.
Yeah, it's also nice because this card you play in the Clerics build that I'm playing in Alchemy, which is an on-board into other formats. And if it also is a card you can play in Historic, bing, bang, boom, exactly the kind of Historic card I'm looking for is that you can play it in...
no wonder you're complaining. You put it in your Esper deck.
So to be fair, I didn't build that deck. I just took it from somebody. But yeah, I'm playing it in Esper. It's really hard to cast sometimes. But the only islands I'm playing, it's all pathways and stuff. Pathways and slow lands. So it's like, I just don't have an untapped land for turn 2. I can always play it, just not on time. But anyway, my Historic card, I think I'm in the same boat as you, as I haven't really played Historic in a long time. But I know that Storm Chase Drake...
Just been having fun with Alchemy, you know?
Yeah, I mean, alchemy is really fun. But Storm Chase Drake. This card, it's slotted right into auras. I've seen some deck lists with it. I haven't actually played it in Historic, to be fair. But it did get there, what I wanted it to do. So
Because auras needed more draw cards when you play an aura effects. That's what it needed.
yeah, it needs redundancy. It needs more redundancy. So, you know, you need any board wipe protection. It's great. Love it. Super.
So are the alchemy cards? They're legal in Historic, right?
Yes. Every card in Arena.
So you could play like Key to the Archive. You could play that in Historic.
Correct.
So technically, Time Warp has kind of slithered its way back in.
Do you think they took Time Warp out of that?
It's just like it gives you 3 options, but there's a big red X over Time Warp.
Yeah, it's like, okay, you
Banned.
could pick the banned card or not. Do you want to pick the banned card?
Don't be this guy.
Yeah, that's gonna be our YouTube thumbnail. Don't be this guy picking the Time Warp in Historic. It's banned. All right.
Yeah.
Let's keep moving on. We do have a really fun one for all of you. I know we talk a lot about decks, we talk a lot about strategies and formats and all those stuff, but sometimes we just like to look at the aesthetics. So, Jeff, what's your favorite art from Crimson Vow?
All right. So for me, this was the Chandra Dressed to Kill alternate art. The main art is good too, but
Is it?
this one, like, sure. I mean, it's good in the sense that like it's a talented artist.
Sure.
But when I compare them to other works in this set, you know, that's a different story. But certainly a hell of a lot better than I could do. But this one I just really like because for me it kind of encapsulates I guess the main art has more of the killing, and this one focuses more on the dressed up kind of thing. And it's just like her entering the wedding in this like really awesome and amazingly detailed fiery dress. And like the whole piece actually I would say is like kind of amazingly detailed to me, and I really like the colors and just everything that's going on in it.
I was going to pick this one for my favorite art. And I think the reason that I was kind of harsh on the other art in that moment back there was basically because this one tells the story that the card sounds like it's telling, which is you're dressed to kill and you walk in and you're like on fire and the dress is gorgeous and like everything looks good. And it looks like she's just walking in and everyone's talking about her in the background. Because she's like...
And she has like a really, you know, kind of confident look on her face.
This one tells the story that she walked in and she dressed better than the bride is what this is telling me. Like she walked in and looked better than the bride at the wedding, which is a really interesting story. Now, this did not happen in the story. Go check out our Drunken Vorthos to learn about that. But... yeah. I do think that this one just looks a lot better. I like the dress in this a lot better than the other one. And in my mind, Chandra Dressed to Kill is this art, and the other one isn't the same. It's completely different. So
yeah, like this is the art that I'll pay gold for if I want to use this card.
Yes, I 100%. I would want to play. I wouldn't want to play with the other one. I'd want to play with this one, which I don't value the paying for cosmetics very much. So it's a big praise. So I am kind of piggybacking on yours. I do like yours. I believe this was illustrated by Ekaterina Burmak.
Yeah.
So
it's kind of like the Russian version of the name Catherine. Ekaterina.
Oh, Ekaterina. See, that's why I have you here, because you help me with, things I should know that I don't know, which is most things.
Yeah, it's funny. When I was in Russia, there were...
I forget you were in Russia all the time. I always forget that.
And I also knew a Yulia, which is the Russian version of the name Julia.
Yeah.
So I was like, I knew the Russian versions of both of our partners.
That's pretty funny. That's funny. Anyway, my favorite art for the set was actually the black and white version of Eruth, Tormented Prophet, or Aerith. I'm not sure how her name is pronounced, but
read it as Aerith, but I don't know that that's right.
All right. So Aerith, Tormented Prophet. This is the black and white version, so it's kind of like her grasping her face, and her eyes are kind of coming out of her head, or like melting, or like and there's demons everywhere. It's pretty haunting, and it was illustrated by Paul Jackson, and I hadn't seen it. I had looked at a bunch of stuff, but once I had seen that you were going to talk about Chandra, I was like, I got to find something else. And this one really spoke to me. I like that it's kind of in a different world and really represents exactly what it's trying to explain, while the other version has haunting bits to it, but doesn't bring you into the haunting in the same way, where I feel like I'm connected to this moment. The other ones look like a person that is being haunted, and I'm outside watching them being like, that person's fucked up. And this one makes me feel like I'm pretty fucked up right now. So I like that.
Yeah, it's definitely a really cool piece. I kind of like the black and white style for the most part that they did.
I was also going to jump on for the most part, because there were pieces that are more confusing, that I can't really suss what's happening.
Right.
So I'm not 100% on the train of that was a good idea.
Right. It's not one of these like styles that was better in every case. Like some of the, I feel like maybe if we go all the way back to the storybook cards, the adventure cards, those were like pretty much ubiquitously the better version.
Yeah, every single time. Which is also funny. I don't want to talk.
And maybe even the landfall from Zendikar, they were kind of.
Those were really cool
always
too.
A little bit nicer.
Yeah. With that being said, we did have the Fang frame cards, which were all the vampires had a Fang frame, and to me, I didn't love them. There were certain ones I thought were good, but there is a good hunk of them, including Olivia, which I just didn't like any of the arts for Olivia. Sorry, I don't want to. Yeah, this isn't a downer.
She's like the main character,
Yeah, I really thought like that's why Chandra really feels like it like upstages her. That's what the word. It upstages her because all of Olivia's arts on the card really don't convey what we see in some of the other product art. Some of the screens that you see before you're going to draft on Arena, or your some different things, like really convey her being the boss and like it's her fucking event. But on the cards, it feels like it just falls short. Like, oh, you really missed it somehow. It made me kind of sad. Obviously, this isn't about being sad, but
well, then to put a positive damper on it, I actually did kind of like the Dracula cards.
Oh,
than I thought I would, even though I don't have any affiliation with Dracula, like personally. Which is why I was like, didn't know if I would like them, but I thought all of them pretty much are pretty cool.
They are really cool. I think specifically I liked the Sisters of the Undead was really cool. It really makes me feel like all of the Dracula's wives. And they are pretty sweet. I do like Dracula quite a bit, and I like vampires in general. So, you're right. I do.
And I just like the art for Thalia's. Like Mina Harker. I don't know who that is, but like obviously it's a character from Dracula. But I really like the art, and if I was playing Thalia, that'd probably be the piece I would use if I had the option.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. I think Mina is the one who's basically she's like she's the one who Dracula is kind of influencing to bring her back to his place, and all the characters are trying to save her from his wrath. At least that's what Bram Stoker's Dracula by Francis Ford Coppola was about. Pretty sure. So anyway, enough about Dracula.
It's a very cool art in the set overall, though. It wasn't. At first I was like, this is going to be really hard to choose. And then I remembered the alternate art for Chandra. I was like, never mind, that's what I'm going to do.
That's exactly what it is. Yep. Love that one immediately. All right. We are towards the end, but we do need to talk about some shots that we took earlier in this whole thing. Spoiler alert. We're going to go through these very quickly because we were wrong about all of them. And the rule is,
Yeah,
if we're
and we've already alluded to some of them.
yes, if we were wrong about it, then we don't take a shot. You only get to take a shot if you were right. So, with that, I'll run through mine, then you can run through yours. But Blue White Auras, I said, was going to be part of the standard meta, even like 2.5. And it's not even anything, a little bit. It was horrible. It's a bad deck. Didn't work.
It's tier infinite.
Yeah, it's nothing. In the story, I predicted that Thalia would kill Audric. That didn't happen. Actually, they fought side by side, and she...
Odric.
No, Audric. Oh, God. Anyway, sorry, whatever.
Or Oldric.
Oldric. Okay.
Oldric.
So Thalia, I wanted her to kill Audric because he turned into a vampire. Turns out instead, the story was like they fought side by side and he happened to turn into a vampire, but he's actually like a good vampire. It seems a lot less compelling in my mind. And then the 5-color cleave deck was supposed to be the best draft deck. Did not happen. However, I still have one that is undecided, which is by next year, which is next November, something like that. There will be an old tribal deck in Commander. You can play old tribal. Every card has the word old in it by next year.
There's got to be an old guy in Kamigawa. I think you're on pace for that.
I think there will be. I think we're going to find him, whoever it is. But Jeff, what were the shots that you took for this set?
All right, I started strong with black-white will be the best color pair in Limited. Turned out to be a little false. According to 17 Lands, it was the 6th best. So pretty close. And hey, give me a break. I had a 1 in 10 shot there.
It's true.
And then I said that vampires will be tier 1 in standard, and some other tribal deck will be tier 2. My main point was like, you'll see a lot more tribal decks at reasonably competitive, like not just on the ladder because people like them, like people are playing them in tournaments. And I was close on this one. I'd say vampires kind of got to tier 1.5, but never really broke into the 3-way that mono white, mono green, and blue red spells were having. They didn't allow any other entrance. But vampires got close, and then zombies actually maybe was the best tribal deck in the end. Mono black zombies putting up a good performance at the championship. So
that's true.
I can't claim a win on this one. I don't get my shot, but I was close.
I was really close.
Much closer than my other one, at least.
Yeah. Tell us what you think about our shots and what you think we should take shots on for the next set. But, Jeff, I think it's going to be last call. It's getting late. Here we go, Jeff. Last beers of the night. And I got mine picked out, so here we go. Ready on 3.
Okay, count it out.
1, 2, 3.
Triple.
That's right. I knew it from last week. I was going to pick the triple because I liked the double so much. So
yep.
This was, I don't know, what's the math?
I think it would have been an interesting battle to put the double up against the triple.
It would have been a sloppy evening. But
I know why we didn't do it. I'm just saying, like, it would have been a closer beer fight at the end, I think, because when a brewery specializes in Belgian beer, you kind of know their double and triple's going to be their highlights, and the other stuff's going to be, not that it's bad, but it's not going to be what they're focusing on. It's not their flagship product.
Exactly. And this one, oof. Now, I think what's going to happen is, am I going to like the triple more than the double? Because you would immediately think, yes, of course you would. Why would you not? But maybe I'm just trying to put a little seed of doubt in you so that it's not completely obvious.
I don't know. The double was really good.
It was.
So I would have to taste them next to each other to really make that decision.
You're right. Maybe we should go back. Maybe we should do that for next week. Just kidding.
Next week's the Silver Series, I think.
It might be. You'll have to find out. So, before we get into all of the rating and all those things, we should talk about our rating system, which is on a scale from bronze to mythic, which is the same as the tiers in Arena. Look at that, how How funny. That's so strange.
Yeah,
As
it's just
always,
such a coincidence.
yeah, it just happened that way. As always, this has nothing to do with the tier you are personally in at this moment. We're all in different tiers at different times of our lives. This is just a fun way to rate beer. However, bronze beers are absolute trash and garbage, and they should be thrown away because they're horrible.
Well, I'm in bronze in limited right now. I'm pretty sure. So, are you saying I should be thrown out of limited? Oh no, you said okay. It's not about me. It's about the beer.
It's not about you. Yeah. It's just about the beer. Yeah.
All right, cool. Well, then, if I were able to make it to silver, silver would be the equivalent of macro brews. So basically, they don't have a lot going on.
Yeah, not a ton. Gold, which is what I am in constructed at the moment. Those are fine. It's respectable, but you probably won't think about it again, and you're not really super excited about it.
Now, my constructed rating would be platinum, which is higher than gold. And these are solid beers. You would drink these again.
Nice. So diamond, which is my limited rank. Just kidding. I'm not in diamond and limited.
Quick, I need a third ranking system.
Oh my god. So diamond beers are fantastic. You love them. This is some of the beers that you like. Think about. You recommend these to all your friends because you really like this beer. It's great.
And Mythic is the absolute best of the best. These are like in your top 5 beers, maybe top 10 if you're pushing it, and you would recommend these to absolutely anyone.
All right, so for the record, last week we had the double. Spoiler alert. We said it was diamond. So, this triple, is it going to be good enough to crack up to Mythic? Or where's it going to go? Is it going to be silver? Just kidding. We both picked it, obviously. So we
actually have this in bronze, and the other one in super bronze.
In super bronze.
I have the other one in hasn't installed the game yet.
Mm-hmm. The other one is playing Gathering the Magic.
yeah, and losing a lot because I'm on his friends list.
Fuck.
I'll start with this one. This is good. The one thing I'll say is when I took a sip of this, it didn't necessarily remind me of the double. Now, maybe it's just because it's been a week and I don't really remember what the double tasted like. But generally, if you have a double and a triple, they kind of follow the same lines, have a similar flavor profile, maybe. And just this one kind of surprised me because it, for whatever reason, didn't taste like I expected it to.
Mm-hmm.
But that being said, it's still good, and I really like it. It has the nice fruity flavors that I expect from a triple. Has that quality of you only recognize that it's 8% when you're halfway through, and you're like, "What am I saying right now?" Which is a classic Belgian triple. If you ever had one, you know the feeling I'm talking about. But it's tough for me to put this in Mythic because I stack it up to one of my favorite beers that I do have in Mythic, which is also a Belgian triple. And I think I've even put it in Mythic on the show before, Fin du Monde.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't like this one as much as I like that one. Maybe that's just I'm used to that one. And so, nothing's going to top it because that's just the one I like. Nevertheless, that's the one I like. So I think this one's got to slot into Diamond again for me.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I don't like I don't like this more than La Fin du Monde. And I actually think that this one definitely punches me in the face with the alcohol. I feel it immediately. And to me, it does taste similar to the double, but with more alcohol, which is kind of what I was expecting.
Oh, okay.
But I can definitely taste the difference of the alcohol in this one. That doesn't knock it.
We went opposites on that one.
Yeah, kind of weird. I don't know. It's very strange. But it doesn't knock it to me, where normally I'd be like, this might be over-alcoholized. I don't know if that's a word. But definitely in wine, it can be something I don't
We
look
just
for.
say not balanced.
Not balanced. There you go. Yeah, that's right. And that it's just a little too heavy on the alcohol. The flavors fall away, and the alcohol punches them down.
I think generally we say it's too dry, right? Is that what you would say in wine?
No, because I don't know if that's necessarily what I would say. Usually I'm equating dryness to the tannins in the wine, and the alcohol
Okay.
is just like a different flavor, kind of, that comes
When I
out.
think of a dry beer, I imagine like a beer that someone brewed and then right before they fermented it, they just dumped a bunch of like sugar into it. And so
Oh,
the sugar will get eaten up by the
the yeast and
yeast
hmm
and produce more alcohol, but it won't really add any beer flavor or body because it wasn't the naturally produced sugars of the grains.
interesting.
And so to me, that's what like a dry beer is,
You would
something basically over alcoholized, or just like over implies that it's bad. But like you can have a really nice dry beer where the dryness was a good idea, you know. But uh, that's what I think of when I think of a dry
Yeah,
beer.
I mean, ultimately, beer is liquid, so I don't know how it's dry, but just kidding.
Right. Yeah.
Um,
So the word
no,
dry is always misused when it comes to liquids, anyways.
yeah, yeah, but no, that's interesting. I don't think I've ever specifically thought about that event. I usually don't think of beer in general as being dry, so I like that definition as really visceral. I can grab onto that idea of what that means. And this one doesn't feel dry to me, but I can definitely taste the alcohol, which I don't think is a bad thing because I am someone who likes tasting alcohol because I drink it on purpose. And
Yeah.
so I'm going to stick this in Diamond. Though, if I go back to the brewery, I think I'm still with you. Like, I would probably do like, hey, could I get a taste of the double and the triple next to
I
each
think
other
I might go
before?
for the double.
I
I
might,
might go for the double if I had to in the dark.
if I
You know,
went,
like I guess not in the dark because I've tried them both, but I haven't tried them next to each other. So if
yeah,
I went now and I couldn't get them tasters of both, I would get the double first.
yeah, maybe, man. I really liked the double a lot, and this one I think is really good. But also I'm getting old, man. This is the year I'm getting super old. You're old now. You're an old man. I'm gonna be an old man soon. 7.9
Yeah,
might be too much,
jeez.
like getting there. But especially like I could drink a double and be like chill. The triple might be too much on a regular night, on a Monday. Anyway, but no, I thought it was great. The Daystar. Um, what did you think about the Daystar?
I thought it was good, like a good blonde ale, but I didn't feel like it was particularly Belgian, I guess. It just felt like a blonde ale to me. Maybe there were some fruity notes, but a lot of blonde ales just kind of have that now. So I don't know. For me, it felt like this was just a fairly well made, kind of standard blonde
Yeah.
ale.
I could definitely taste some sort of Belgianness to it. However, it wasn't something that I cared for in the blonde ale, which
I
pushed.
think they just used a Belgian yeast, which a lot of like American breweries do now, anyways.
Yeah,
So
it had some qualities for beers that are fine to me, which gives me a gold all over the place. Yeah, I would drink this if it was
I think I
around,
liked
but
it a little better than you. I think I'll
yeah.
put this one platinum,
All
but
right.
kind of on that border. I was thinking like low platinum for this.
Yeah, if I go back to get the double, I'm not going to pick up Daystar. So it's probably my. I'd probably pick up both double and triple.
If I go back,
before.
I'll probably just get like a 6-pack of the double.
Yeah, that's probably what's going to happen. I'll actually get some of the special Belgian ale. I liked the other ones I had, so from last.
Or I'll wait for you to order the double and then I'll order the triple to look like a big one.
Make me look like a little bitch. Yeah.
And you're
Anyway,
like he's too old for triples.
perfect. So we got some diamonds, a
He
platinum,
told
and
me
a
himself.
gold this week. But Jeff, I think it's time for closing time.
Closing time.
Closing time. As always, you can reach us at Arena Regulars on Twitter and Instagram.
You may also find us on MTG Arena under the username Arena Regulars Podcast.
If you want to talk to me personally, Zach, that's my name, you can find me at Zulberg, that is ZeulBerg on Twitter and Instagram. But Jeff, where can they find you?
You can find me at Blues Brews MTG on Twitter. It's spelled like it sounds.
Also, please leave us a review on Apple Podcasts and iTunes. We really appreciate that, as well as follow us on YouTube. Look at our draft videos, leave us a comment, give us a like. It's really great for us, and we would love to hear your feedback. This has been the Arena Regulars.
Reminding you that a bomb-heavy limited format is not a bad format.
Good night. All right, that's fine.